Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Reality Court. Yes, Ace is still on vacation, but he will be back next week. He's watching me closely, sending me notes of everything that I'm doing wrong. But you know what? I'm having fun. And today I have a guest that I've been wanting to have on the show for a long time. Seeing Ace is missing out. His name is Nate Peláez, and if you love Miami, you probably follow him already. He's got the Instagram account RHOM, R-H-O-M, Bravo. It was Peacock first, and then now it's Bravo. And he kind of keeps us updated on everything Real Housewives of Miami. Welcome, Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
Of course, you're like the only person who can actually pronounce my last name correctly on the first attempt. So
Really?
thank you.
Oh my God.
People say Peláez.
Yeah. I also know how to say Todd.
Do you know how to say Carol?
Carol? Yeah, Carol, Todd. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to try not to be too shady because I know that you like all the girls over there, and as you should. I'm not going to say anything about production, but, you know, every once in a while I may say something under my breath and you just ignore me.
Okay.
Okay, so before we start, since you've never been on here before, we're going to do the reality court oath. Okay, so you raise your left hand.
Left.
Okay. Do you, Nate Peláez, promise to tell some version of the truth, to own it, to not be all uncool, so help you Andy Cohen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, let's get into it. I haven't really talked to you since the season started. I know that you went to the premiere party.
Yes, I
who
did.
invited you to that? The wonderful production company?
It was the wonderful production company, Purveyors of Pop.
Poop.
They reached out to me. It was Cooper, actually.
Actually, I'll tell you, Cooper's the nicest one. Cooper is by far the nicest guy there. And so who had you not met before?
I had not met Larsa or Marisol or Julia. And then Stephanie, of course, because she's new.
Right.
But one of the housewives who I think was trying to do some instigation called me actually the next day and told me that Julia called me a stalker once because I had met them in New York. Like after their reunion, I happened to run into them at their hotel, which I guess does sound stalkerish. So maybe I am like guilty of that. But
I don't think that's stalkerish. Listen, you run the account for this show, and it makes sense that you would be excited to meet them. I mean, I don't know. So what was your impression of Gertie?
At the premiere, she was very nice. They all, I mean, since I'm so young, I think a lot of them see me as their son. Even Adriana in one of the videos was like, I'm a proud mama. So I think I probably get a different, version of them than they would give to you maybe or somebody else.
You're right. Sure. You're definitely getting a different version that I'm getting.
Right. But
but I could see that. I could see that Gertie would see you in that light.
Yeah, I mean, I have a black mom, I have a white dad, so I'm sure she probably saw some sort of...
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, but listen, I was put in the middle of so many, problems at that premiere. There were fights going on, and people were coming to me in one ear, some was coming from the other ear, and I was just like...
With each other? There were fights with each other at the premiere?
Yeah, I mean... there was a speech given about kind of how everyone on the cast is an immigrant and how the show is very important to be showing today. And they had a whole cast group photo after that. And I guess Stephanie was kind of in the middle or was talking to one of the cast members that one of the other cast members did not want her to be talking to. And you see her kind of jump up and say, leave Stephanie alone, stop talking to her. And then the producers had to get in and break it up.
Oh, but was it because who was standing in the middle?
Well, Stephanie was talking to somebody this.
Well, listen, you don't have to tell me. I'm sure the whole fight was Alexia and Marisol for sure, because anytime somebody newer, younger, and hotter comes on the scene, they get very intimidated. You don't have to say anything about that, but there's a proof of Dr. Nicole Martin, and that's what happened. And I think that they tried really hard to make it seem like they were okay with this one, but it's hard for them because listen, the one thing you can't buy is your youth back. So I think that all those things make them crazy. And I think for Marisol, it's less about envy. I don't really think she's, for Alexia's envy for sure. She's a very jealous person and she needs to be. But for Marisol, it's more about it threatens her position, And she does give a lot to that show. She does. I mean, people were like shocked last week when I said, give her a freaking mojito already, because the truth is that she does give a lot to the show. But now I'm not taking it back, but if the circumstances changed, and we know that we've just heard that Nicole Martin has said that she's willing to come back to the show if some cast changes are made. And I was surprised. First I was surprised, then I was a little disappointed because I wanted her to walk away and just say, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? Literally. But then, of course, how exciting if she comes back. Because Stephanie is no Nicole Martin. Yeah, I will say that.
That's what the people in the comments have been saying.
Yeah, she's no Nicole Martin. And, I think that it would be fun if she came back. I do think Marisol must be shaking in her boots for several reasons. A, she said certain cast members, and there may be more than one, but she did allude to, and I know that that's who it is, the person that put the PI and to investigate her. That's a very Marisol thing. She wanted to find something bad about her. Here's the thing. Unlike this Masood, whatever, who is a nice guy, by the way, super nice guy, he is so in love with his wife that he, basically gives her everything she wants. And I think it's been to his detriment because I think that he's in a little bit of a pickle financially. Unlike him, Anthony, Nicole's boyfriend, husband, whatever, the father of her children, would not have gone on TV if he wasn't squeaky clean. And it's just, he's a lawyer. Trust me, if he wasn't squeaky clean, the Florida bar would have gotten to him already. So I think it's funny that on the show I think it's like on one of the promos, they say, something about her having a lot in common with Nicole, and you both have a plane, you both say the same. She goes, mine is bigger. Yeah. Well, it's my understanding that hers is non-existent right now.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and I will post the little thing that came out that apparently they had to give their plane as collateral. That doesn't mean necessarily that they don't have the use of it, but I'm not sure because it's always different, and that they have a home in Gables Estates that really was built by Masood and his former wife, Maria, and that had to be, the court has ordered them to sell it. Again, this is all alleged. I read it in, one of the business journals. So I just think it's funny. I think, to me, it is crazy that if you're in that kind of situation, why would you go on this show? But again, maybe not. We started strong with her on the jet, and drinking having caviar and drinking champagne. So who knows? I
mean, I hope that that's not true, but I'm sure a lot of people, I'm not saying this is for Stephanie specifically, but I'm sure a lot of people kind of get on that show, first of all, because they want fame more than anything, and they probably think that they can kind of, anything that's in their past is like probably can be avoided. Yeah, even though it's been proven time and time again to not be true. But also, I'm sure maybe some people think that with the money that they can get on that show, that
Right.
maybe it can help solve a lot of their
You
demons
know,
that are in the closet.
yes.
So,
You are very wise for your years. And I have to say to those who are watching, Nate looks like he's 12 years old, but he's, he's going to Cornell. He started this account because he's Cuban, half Cuban or Cuban?
I'm half Cuban, yeah.
Half Cuban, loves Miami, and started this when you were 16?
I was 14.
14.
I was very young.
14.
I was a freshman
He
in high
is
school.
19 now, but he's very smart and he's really dedicated a lot of time to this account. And there's
Yeah.
been a lot of controversy on your account before.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
You've been in the middle of
Oh,
a
I've
lot.
been involved in a lot of them. So,
Yeah, but I
the
love it. I
yeah,
mean, and the reason I really started the account was because even though my dad is Cuban, he moved to New York to go to college. And so even though all my family is in Miami, I was born and raised in Manhattan. And so I wasn't really connected with my Cuban side in Florida. Once I discovered this show during COVID, everyone was talking. I honestly have you. I said the same to Alexia and Marisol, and you too. I want to thank you for talking about, being Cuban and everything on the show. And I remember one of your first lines, I think in season two, was that you're nurturing or something. You think that's the Cuban in you or something. You
yeah,
said like that.
yeah.
And hearing all that stuff made me really look inward about how I'm Cuban too and how that's a part of my culture that I need to explore. And
Right.
that's kind of why I have such a strong connection to the account and the show is because it really gave me a new sense of cultural pride, which may sound silly that a reality show that
No,
like,
it's not silly. I just want you to know, since you weren't that connected to the Cuban community, that not all Cuban women say bro. And there are a lot of us that are actually educated and speak in complete sentences. So need to put that out there because I don't want you to be confused by what you see. That's not
yeah,
all of us.
yeah.
So I think my first conflict on your podcast was when Bev and I were still doing Mommy Issues, and Peggy, cocaine cowboys. By the way, just so you know, this is what, again, alleged. By the way, I'm just going to have like a ticking thing, like from the stock market on the bottom that says allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. He was a drug dealer, but he wasn't a drug dealer. He was like a low rent drug dealer, if that's even possible. How much do you know about the cocaine industry in the 80s in Miami?
Well, that's a
Very little.
little for my time, but my family moved to Miami, like they were in Miami around that time, so I've heard stories kind of about it. I watched the Netflix series.
Right.
Other than that, I don't know that much.
Oh my God. If you should hear Beva doing her imitation of that guy, of Alexia's first husband.
Well,
Oh my God. She just does this imitation of I can't do it because she's so funny, but she would say imagine him calling Alexia and going, Alexia, listen, I'm going to be on the show and I want you to be on there and I want you to put on a really tight choker and and can you get me like one of those polos, but like in a bright color and with the biggest horse known to mankind? The one that really says polo. And it's just so funny, but he does it with much more of an accent. She also does a great Alexia. She does. Anyway, so that was the first thing, and that's when my life was threatened.
yeah.
And my daughter's lives were. I think he was going to make my daughter's hookers, escorts, something like that. So yeah, that was fun. Todd has fallen out of favor, I think, with everyone, because whether you like Alexia or not. And whether or not you think she's making an ass of herself, No, seriously,
Yeah.
we don't really know the inner workings of that. We really don't know what's going on. The Alexia I know is not one that would make an ass of herself. Seriously. So I just think there's more there, and you got to see my journey, and I'm very raw, and I be very vulnerable, and you have to see my journey with Todd. So we'll have to see all that.
I feel like I don't have that much of a voice on my account, which is on the show. Like I'm on the show. On the account, I feel like I kind of am a little bit of a pushover because I don't want anybody to be mad at me.
I know. And it's tough. You know what? It's tough because you're going to have people mad at you. I know Marisol, for a long time, I saw that you said that she blocked you. And it probably has to do with the fact that you even share stuff about me and that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah. I mean, she's shocked at how little support I showed to her and Alexia. And then she unfollowed me and then she blocked me. And I was like... I was like the middle of my history class, I think.
I'm like, I'm just a kid, lady.
But she recently came back, and I think there was some feelings that I showed favoritism, which I try not to do. But if that's how she felt, I have to respect that. And I've been trying to do maybe I was showing favoritism. I mean, the standard is very low. If you're nice to me, I like you.
Right, exactly. And
maybe
you
I'm
really,
less.
but you've always been an Adriana fan.
Yeah.
And, with me, actually, we have communicated, but almost always about your education.
Yeah.
Isn't it true?
Yeah.
You reach out to me for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to get your advice. I mean, I think that you have a lot of good, intelligent things to say. And, I mean, I wanted to give you that update, too. I felt... like you're my distant Cuban mom, since I don't have that.
I'm proud that you think of me that way. Honestly, you just have to know that you can't please everybody all the time. But yeah.
I know. It's a difficult thing to learn, but I think I've gotten better at it. I mean, when I was younger, all of a sudden, when Marisol blocked me, and then the next week, Alexia unfollowed me, and then Todd unfollowed me, and then Todd's mother unfollowed me.
Todd's mother?
Todd's mother, who had been DMing me, I was supposed to meet her at BravoCon, and then...
Todd's mother went to BravoCon?
She was supposed to go, but I think she had a health concern.
This is what bothers me. This is the hypocrisy, right? Todd hates the show. He hates this, he hates that, but his mother was supposed to go to BravoCon. The only thing I think Todd hated was the fact that he made... or most people thought he made a fool of himself with that 9-minute, is it 9 minutes or 7 minutes? 9-minute apology to Anthony. And it's funny because I called Anthony that day right when it aired and I said, dude, like, what the fuck? And he goes, he's nice, man. He's harmless. He was so nice about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but even that is it's a little like...
No. Well, of course, but he is that. It is that, And I think Todd went on that show thinking that he was like the big guy, right? Because compared to like a Russell, and by the way, he can't even compare himself to Russell because Russell walks on water as far as I'm concerned, but. But, money-wise, has more money, has more than this one, than that one, or whatever. And he thought he was going to be the big guy on campus, and it turns out that he wasn't. So...
Yeah, and he actually also DM'd me, too. When that whole thing was airing, I posted that clip because I post everything. And
right. Well, listen, that's your job.
Yeah, I know.
If you're going to do it, you got to do it. Right.
Right. I can't be... I mean, also, if he had told me ahead of time, maybe I would have tried to do something, but I didn't know anything. And he DM'd me one day just saying that I have to take down any post that he's in. He got approval from NBC that I don't have the rights to post anything, and he appreciates that I have to take that I take it down without him having to take any further action or something.
Oh, God. He is such a dick. I mean, like, does he not know that he posted that to the whole world for the whole world to see, and now it's become a public domain, So he has a public account. He is so full of shit. Trust me. Well, you could have called me and I would have told you the legal ramifications of that, which are none. This is what I'm saying. This is why he left the show. He cannot get over his bruised ego. So as far as that whole thing, how do you feel about, like, do you think Alexia should just dump Todd?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she should. I think she should because I think that she. I mean, I feel like even though I'm like a fetus, I'm sure compared to a lot of people, like
An
I,
embryo.
well, yeah, I have had friends in situations where they need to leave somebody and then they just can't, and I don't understand that. Maybe I'm flawed, but I just don't understand, like, if something, if someone's showing you who they are. I mean, this is such a cliche
Believe them,
thing.
but it's true. It's true. Here's the thing. I think that it has a lot to do with her age, where you are in your stage of your life, and I could say that, if you've invested, like now the person I've been with him for 9 years. If he turned out to be like something that surprised me, see, I don't know if it surprised her, because Marisol has given us some inklings to the fact that he puts her down and he does that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff, and that's been going on for some time. But, I would try to hold on, but not like that. Also, there is the whole concept that, everybody's like, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? Well, why buy the pig if all you want is a little sausage? She seems to be enjoying the sex. She seems to, whatever. In the end, in today's day and age, it's aerobics. It's aerobics. And if she enjoys it, I don't know. I don't necessarily judge her for that. I just, for whatever reason, just as a woman, I hope she figures it out and that he doesn't completely rob her of her dignity.
Yeah.
So I don't follow Marisol. I blocked her a while ago just because I think it's bad juju, and I know that she does a lot of weird, like, hocus pocus shit. And I, you could say you don't believe in it, but por si acaso, you know, like, just in case. I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
her looking at my shit. And somebody texted me and said, "Oh, look at this. She's referring to you and talking about you." So I unfollowed her, and then I saw it, and I thought, she decided that some weird account, that it was me saying something and called me some loser housewife, and then somebody said, "Who?" Ana Quincoces, and she goes, "Exactly." And then I wrote to her, and I don't remember what I said. I said, "I don't need to hide behind a thing, and I'm sure you'll be surprised but what you listen on the podcast," which invariably I know you listen to the podcast. And then I said something about her podcast disappearing, and she goes to me, "Nobody listens to our podcast. Our podcast charts every week."
Yeah.
Like, I responded to her, and then I said something else to her, and she goes, "I don't need the money." She goes, "Oh, nobody listens." I said, "Apple Podcast would differ, or begs to differ." And she said, "I don't need the money. We know you don't need the money because you inherited all of Elsa's money, and I don't even want to tell you, she saved a lot of money at the end. By I won't even say it again, but anyway." So that happened, and so I thought it was really funny. Like, why come for me? You have so many other conflicts with people. That kind of didn't make sense. So I thought another funny thing that I saw this weekend is that Larsa turned 51, and she had a party at a place called Oro in Miami, and only two of the cast members were there.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
yeah, and it was only Stephanie and Kiki. So, this whole thing was filmed, I don't know, a while ago, right?
It was
And
filmed last summer
it was
around.
right. So a lot of these conflicts are still going on, or I don't know if it was like in my year that the conflicts are, just kind of come back up for some people because they see it on air. But I really don't think that her and Lisa are still friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the premiere at least, it seemed like all the feuds were real and like
Oh, so that
still
it looked like
ongoing.
they continued.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it was funny. I saw Julia and Adriana go like like that. They didn't even look at each other. They were like in two different premiere parties.
Yeah.
And
I find it weird that only those two girls were there because
Yeah.
also no, I mean, I don't know, like no Marisol, no Alexia, like that's also really strange.
Yeah.
So she might be in a fight with everybody. I also found it, I don't know if you guys got to see it because she deleted it right away. And I have said this before, that Lisa admitted that her and Larsa have not been friends for 15 years. After all, did you see that?
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
see that.
So she put it up. I saw it right when she put it up, and then she deleted it, but somebody recorded it, and so it's in the blogs. And basically she said, Larsa keeps saying that we've been friends for 15 years, but that's not true. I've known Larsa, I've seen her at the clubs, I've seen her at different places, but we only became friends 4 years ago when the show started. She started texting me and stuff. And that sounds very much like Larsa. Larsa was, I think, the last person to sign on, and I think she wanted to be on. And I think she wanted to associate herself with the younger people because I think she's kind of right in the middle between like Adriana, Alexia, and Marisol, and then the younger ones. And so I think she wanted to associate with the younger ones because she's younger or wants to appear younger or likes younger men. But I thought it was very interesting because that's what I've always said about Alexia and Marisol. Sure, you've known them forever. I know who, I've known Alexia. I met her when we were 16 years old, but then I never saw her again. You know what I mean? But still, it's been more like 20 years since I did see her regularly. That doesn't mean anything. We all became closer because of the because of the show. And that's normal. You're like veterans of the same war. You're going through the same thing. So another thing in the news that I thought was interesting, well, we talked about it a little bit already, is what Nicole said. And, how do you feel about Nicole coming back?
I mean, I agree with what you said about kind of wishing that she had just left with her head held high and like not even turning back around. But I miss her.
Yeah.
And I think she would do I think she should come back personally.
Especially if one of the people, because she says that there would have to be kind of like cast shakeup. She did admit in one of the last things, I think she talked about it on a podcast that she has. And I think one of the other bits that I heard was that she said that Lisa was not emotionally mature enough to handle certain things. So, I wonder if the cast shakeup, because she said there is one or two people there in particular that are not good people. They're not good human beings. And I don't know who she's referring to. I mean, of course I know who she's referring to. I know that one of them is Marisol because Marisol is not a good human being. My opinion, not yours. And you don't have to agree. But who else could she be? I mean, would she be referring to Stephanie?
That's a good question.
I don't see Nicole as the type to say, either, I'll come back if she goes.
Right. Yeah.
Because even though a lot of people aren't loving Stephanie's kind of like overly my this, my that, my Birkin, there's a lot of people that actually do like that. I've followed her for years because her lifestyle is so extravagant. Even before they were thinking of putting her on the show, and when they were going to put her on the show, I was excited about it. So I don't think she's going anywhere for now. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that she's really what the show, people who watch the show like. I think that's the majority.
Yeah.
And I actually saw some post that was talking about like what would happen if we brought someone on the show who didn't spend their money on a private plane or on caviar. What if they spent their money donating to charities or something? And
Nobody would watch.
And somebody commented, it was like, shut the fuck up.
Nobody would watch. A lot of people say that.
Yeah, I think nobody's going to be you can't please everybody, like you said about me and my account. I mean, if they cast someone who is living, on the streets, but she's like real or whatever, they would have a problem with that too. So
Of
I
course.
think that the fact that she's so outspoken and she came in episode one, and we see it in the previews for the next episode that she goes at it with Lisa, and she's already there's a tiff with Alexia. I mean, she's going at the like big dogs of the show.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's
Yeah.
good TV. She's not my cup of tea. And I think it was more because I was so excited about her that then I was a little disappointed. But again, I need to give people some grace because I have been on the receiving end of bad editing, and they wanted to make her look like that. And then those guys are impressed by shit like that. I wish Nicole would come back with some of her friends. Like at
Me
that
too.
Mamacita luncheon, I met 2 or 3 of her friends. Beautiful, smart, the right age, accomplished, articulate, wearing beautiful fashion. I think there is, and I'm going to get shit for this, but there is an expiration date, okay, on these housewives. And I'm not really talking about chronological age. I mean, I think a pause, we first heard of the pause with Dorinda, is almost necessary because they continue getting more and more and more unhinged. And so I think that it would probably be a good idea for them to do that. And I think Miami always struggles. I don't know why they struggle. And people say they don't promote it enough. They promote it. They do promote it. And when you go on Peacock, it's the first thing there. And I know that they have better ratings at Next Day Watch and all that.
Right.
But that still doesn't make up for the fact that people aren't going to Bravo and aren't excited to see it first.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Because people really love it.
I mean, Housewives of Miami, Designing Miami, the show on HGTV. I feel like none of these shows in Miami are doing that well. And a lot of people online are saying that it's subtle, like this people don't like Latino women or something. And I don't know if it's that.
Well,
but
see,
I think
that's my
definitely-
problem with it. That's my problem with it is that they probably don't like Latino women because the Latino women portrayed on the show are ridiculous. This happened to me when I was really doing a lot of cooking stuff that, everybody wants to be on the Food Network. And I remember getting a call from the Food Network after I wrote my second book to meet with them. And what they told me was that there was somebody at the time, really the first Latina on Food Network, who got a show. And she was acting, you're too young to remember this, but do you remember Charo? That she would be on all the cruise ships and she would go,
Yeah.
Gucci, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
She would exaggerate her accent and she would say, this chicken is so delicious. We should put it in the oven and see what happens. You like chicken? And it's like, what the fuck, girl? You messed up for all of us. Now Food Network doesn't want anything to do with Latinas. And I really think this is the same thing. I really think this is the same thing. Yeah. I think they don't like the Latinas that they see. And that's why I really liked Nicole, because I thought, look, she's not perfect, but if we got some more like her, this is why Leah doesn't come back even for a cameo anymore. They call her all the time. And she's like,
Did
they
she
had
get good at it, you think?
last time?
Or, yeah, in comparison to yours, which I know.
Oh,
was,
yeah. Oh, no, they don't fuck with Leah. They don't fuck with Leah. They don't fuck with Leah because Roy, and and they actually like her. You know what I'm saying? They like her in spite of the fact that Marisol hates her, which is strange. But Leah says that that she believes this show could have been a group of aspirational women living fabulous lives, but without all the embarrassing crap. And so for that reason, she's not interested in coming back to the show. She's not interested. I mean, she was invited to BravoCon, and I don't believe she's going. Yeah, she didn't even know what BravoCon was.
Right.
I have to keep her up to date with what's happening, because we'll catch up. sometimes every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. And she goes, okay, what's going on or whatever. And that's the only way that she knows. She goes, I got this invitation and for something of Bravo in November, and they want to pay me $10,000. I said, that's BravoCon, Leah. She goes, what is that? I heard about that. I'm like, oh my God. It's a Bravo convention, whatever. And she goes, oh, well, there's going to have to be a lot more zeros if they want me to show up with that. And she's already said she would never film with Marisol or Alexia. Leah was good friends with Herman. And Herman had a lot of respect for her. There's something funny about Leah that people don't know. Herman really respected Leah, really deferred to Leah's opinion of things, and Mama Elsa adored Leah and would often side with her and against her daughter. I saw that several times. She also had a lot of respect for Leah. So if my mother sided with somebody instead of me, I am telling you, I'd be so pissed. But it's very telling of something, And Leah was very disappointed when Alexia outed Herman as being gay for a storyline. And I can honestly tell you that it was disappointing. Everyone in Miami knew Herman was gay. Every single, I'm sure you've seen it on comments. She knew he was gay. Everybody knew he was gay. This was not a secret. Since before she even met him, she married him because she was in a bind. He had money. And she liked, I remember, look, Herman was not an attractive man, but I remember talking to her once and about this, and she said, I like that he's powerful, She liked that, that was the attraction. And I think towards the end, he couldn't hide it anymore. There was a time that he needed a beard, and the world has changed, thank God. And he could be himself. And it's just very tragic. Number one, how he died, and also that she did that because it wasn't her place to do it, So Leah had a really big issue with that, and she could never forgive her for that.
Yeah. Once again, I'm not hating. I mean, I have an account for this.
No,
show.
but you, but you have the finger on the pulse of what, it's like when I watch a show and then what I see on social media, but you have much more of an insider look and people kind of talk to you about it. And you're right. It does seem like it's never ending. And like, because I was friends with Marisol and Alexia, Marisol in particular does have a real understanding of what it takes for one of these shows to do well. I remember her saying, there has to be a time where everybody gets along, where everybody finds resolution, because that gives the audience, she didn't say it like this, but for me, I think it gives the audience like some kind of like, everybody wants a happy ending, even if next season you have some other conflict, but give us a happy end. I mean, these women fight at the reunion, and you can tell they're not going to dinner together after. You can tell that they really hate each other.
I think the viewers can tell when you're only seeing the good things, and the viewers can tell when the viewers can tell everything.
Yeah, of course they can tell. Everybody's always like, what is it that I'm thirsty and all this stuff. Whenever anybody has anything negative to say, they don't consider that I have a podcast, and that this is something like, this is a vast exaggeration, but when Martina goes to comment on tennis at Wimbledon, I can't believe I'm calling Real Housewives of Miami Wimbledon, and in essence, me, Martina, but you talk about what you know. And so, one of the reasons a lot of people liked the recap from last week is that you're almost getting it from an insider's perspective. And I mean, of course I'm going to talk about it. Of course I'm going to, it's part of my experience and who I am. So, I want to thank you so much for risking your friendships with other housewives and coming on here. I want you to come back so we can recap the episode. Thank you for all your insight. I think it's good for our listeners to know, you've been close to the action and talking to the ladies. Like, we have no idea. We only see what we see on TV. So tell our listeners where they can find you, exactly your handle.
Yeah, so my username for now, unless they go back to Peacock, which I don't think they are, but my username is at rhom.bravo. You can get all things about the show, behind the scenes, previews, things like that.
Okay.
And thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
No, of course. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all your, intel and stuff with us. And you can follow Nate at rhom.bravo on Instagram. And yes, I mean, you will see there anything that's happening. And there's a lot of fights and arguments that come up there. So it's entertaining to watch. So I will see you next time. And thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much.
See you guys. See you all next time. And yes, Ace will be here next week. Stop asking me. I know that Ace is more fun than I am, but you know what, guys? I'm doing the best I can. All right. Thank you.